Hi everybody, thanks for joining me for another tutorial in Melinda's Rubber Room. I'm Melinda Pierce, I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here today to show you how to do this card. This is a card that we did in our May card class, our in-person card class. I do provide the card kits in the mail for these cards as well. So if you're interested in participating in that, you can jump over to my Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Melinda's Rubber Room. Okay, so I'm going to point you down to my work surface and show you how to put this card together. Alrighty, so I am using the Paradise Palms stamp set. This is a stamp set that is in the current Stampin' Up! Catalog. It has these wonderful stamps that you can do kind of like two-step stamping, where you stamp the trunks in brown and the trees in green if you want. Lots of great little scenery type of stamps, and then some great words as well. So it's a great all-purpose set, great for masculine cards or holiday cards, anything like that. So you can see I'm using a ton of the stamps today, and then there's the dies as well that I am not using today. Okay, so getting to the card, so I have a piece of white cardstock that is cut slightly smaller than the mat, and that is the piece that I'm going to be using my blender brushes to create a background. So I'm just using crumb cake and one of the Stampin' Up! Sponges or blending brushes, and I'm just patting this onto the stamp pad. The crumb cake is a pretty light color, so I do want to get some good color onto that brush. I'm going to start off of my card and go onto my card, so that if I get any big dark colorings, it happens off of my card. Okay, so it's a matter of building that color up. You don't want a whole bunch of color hitting your card all at once. This is a gradual process of adding color onto your card. The biggest mistake that I see people doing is trying to get too much color on the card all at once. It's easy to add more color to your card. It's hard to take that color off. Okay, so that is the crumb cake. I'm now going to go in with the balmy blue. And notice that I have my fingers right on the base of this brush here. That's just to provide some even coverage. And when I'm rubbing my brush, I'm not going on the sides. I'm doing a straight, flat brush application. So again, you can see a little bit how dark that color is there. That's why you go off the page first and then onto your card. So another thing that I see a lot of people doing is they kind of apply the brush on the tip, and that creates some abnormal spreading of the color that is not really the effect that you're after. So again, I'm just building that color up. This is the sky, so I don't necessarily need to have it fully covered in blue. If you have a little bit of white there, it looks like it's a little bit cloudy, which is nice. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, I've already die cut out the front of my card. This is cut out with the diorama frames, layering diorama dies. This is a fun set that's in the catalog, and it's a little bit overlooked because people don't quite know what to do with it, but this is a great application for these dies. Okay, so I want to make sure that my trees, my palm trees, are pretty grounded, so I'm going to take my card that has the diorama die on it and place it right on top of the white cardstock. And I want to make sure that the white cardstock is not showing when I put that blue on top of it. I'm just going to take a little pencil and kind of make a light application of ink right down here, just so that I know where those trees are going to be. I'm going to take my early espresso. Now these trees are meant to be kind of a, I don't know what you call it, but it's all done in brown. So it's not necessarily meant to be brown and green, but you could certainly do that if you wanted to, because they are on two separate stamps. So I'm going to stamp my tree trunks. Now you need to be careful with this tree trunk because it is such a small, narrow stamp that it's easy to catch those edges. So I'm going to go in here and just remove some of that ink so that doesn't happen again. And I'm hoping that I can stamp my tree branches enough so that it will cover up that overstamping that I just did. Okay, that one's better. Okay, so now the tree does have two different fronds on them. I'm going to take the bigger one in hopes to cover up that overstamp there. And I'm just going to stamp this just like so. There you go. Covered that right up. You want to make sure when you're stamping these fronds that they are a little bit low on the trunk. The last thing you want is to have a floating frond. So that one works too. So when I did this first one, the palms were up too high and it was floating, so I ended up stamping it twice, which works as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in and erase this pencil mark. Probably won't show anyway because I'm going to put that blue right over it. And I'm also going to go back and stamp some little grass down on the bottom. Again, just in an effort to ground those trees so they're not just floating. All right, and then I'm going to go back with the brown or the crumb cake just to add a little bit more darkness down on the bottom because it just looks a little stark to me. And I want this bottom part to be a little bit darker than up here. That's more of the sand. All right, so that'll do. I also have a couple little coconuts on here. I don't know if I want to use those or not. I put them on my first one because my palms were floating a little bit more than I wanted them to. Let me see. I think I'm pretty happy without the coconuts, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Close up my ink pads and get my dirty stamps out of the way so I don't mess anything up. Okay, so now I'm just going to apply some adhesive, some glue, right around that diorama frame. I'm going to put it right around the edges too, just so that it doesn't lift up too much. Apply that right to the top. That looks good to me. Again, I'm reusing some paper that I had in my stash. Okay, so now I'm going to bring my card base in. This is going to go right on top, but I want to first adhere some twine just to give it a little bit more dimension on top. I'm just going to wrap this around and tie a knot. You do want to be careful when you're tying your knot on the twine. It does tend to want to, the knots tend to want to loosen up a bit. So after you tie your knot, I would tape it on the back of your card just to make sure nothing shifts around. Make sure that knot is nice and tight. I'm just going to trim those edges. Bring some tape in here. It's just regular Scotch tape. I'm just going to tape that on the end just so that it doesn't tend to want to loosen up or anything. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put dimensionals all the way around it and raise that whole panel up. I'm using the mini dimensionals. I just kind of feel like I get more coverage with those. I'm just going to peel those off. You can use the take a pick tool to help you with this if you want. Thankfully my nails have grown back so I can use those as tools. All right, I'm just going to adhere that to the front of my card, trying to make sure that there's a border all the way around it. All right, and then I already stamped this image and die cut that out. That image is in that same stamp set. Just going to add a little adhesive onto that. Slide that right under that twine a little bit. All right, so now all I have left is the inside of my card. Show you how that looks. So this uses the technique where you actually write or color directly onto your stamp. So I have my Early Espresso stamp and write, and I'm going to use the large end of that marker. And you can tell that it's the large end because it has the larger line going around it as opposed to this line here. Okay, so you always want to use that brush tip when you're coloring directly onto your stamp. And you can see that I am tilting my brush, so I'm using my marker so that I'm using the side of that marker to color in the image. And that will help preserve the tip of your pen. And I'm going to go in with my Mossy Meadow, again using the wide tip and coloring from the side of the pen. This is a great way to get color on your stamps, especially if you don't have a lot of stamp pads. You can do this on any stamp. And if you have the markers, then you can get all kinds of different colors for a lot cheaper than buying all of the different stamp pads. All right, and now to make sure that that stamp is nice and wet when you stamp it, you want to exhale on it. So I'm just blowing right on top of that. Kind of hard to see on the camera. And stamp that image, and there you go. And now all I have to do is stamp the inside. And I think I'm going to do that with the Early Espresso. There we go. And adhere that to the inside of my card. Be sure to hop over to my Facebook page. You can find out all the latest information about upcoming classes and Zoom classes, which are free. Upcoming card making, card kits in the mail, etc. So you can find me at Melinda's Rubber Room on Facebook, and if you'd like to purchase any product, you can do so on my online store at melindapierce.stampinup.net. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video and you learned something new. Lots of fun techniques on that card. So I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a message, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to share my videos. All of that helps me get my videos out to more people to share the joy of rubber stamping. All right, feel free to leave me a message on my YouTube channel or on my Facebook page. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.